Hi, I'm Luke Busby. I'm the ASB president here.
And I'm Ms. Gonzalez. I am your principal.
We are here to address the changes that have been made to our activities and really come to a conclusion on what has been made by our leadership teams and student council, and Ms. Gonzalez is going to illuminate what we've come to.
Great. I'm sure that there are lots of questions that many students still have, and so I'm hoping that we can answer those questions and we can also explain the process that we went through to arrive at some of our decisions. As you all know, back at the beginning of the school year, there were some questions raised about some of our activities, particularly Mr. Shortcrest, Powder Puff, and Macho Volleyball. What you may not know is that there were different questions and concerns that were brought to me as a principal from staff, from parents, from students about those activities. So it seemed like it was a good time for us to review and revisit what they meant to us, what purpose they serve, and what they should look like going forward. This fall, we did hold some different opportunities for students to come and talk, ask questions. We met in the gym at one point because there was so much student interest that we flew out of Ms. Phillips' room one day at lunch, which definitely let me know how important these activities are to our community. But we met in the gym and we had some question and answer, and I got a chance to sit and talk with ASB Core and with Ms. Phillips, and really came to a decision that we needed to have a group to really study the issue and really look into it with more depth and more time and with a little less emotion.
Yeah.
And so we went ahead and created a student committee that was made up of 8 students. It was a mix of currently elected senators and then students at large for each grade level. And I wanted to make sure that none of the ASB Core was on that team, that Ms. Phillips was not on that team, that I was not on that team, that it could operate more independently. And so I asked Mr. Vlahovic and I asked Ms. Worrell, our assistant principal, to help structure the meetings and help set some of the agendas with the students. And what they ended up doing was taking several weeks to study the issue and to look at race and equity policy that the district has. And then they came together with some recommendations.
Yeah, and additionally, we had those forums and those discussions where we were taking feedback and presenting that to the committee. And so it was all about finding a common ground and something that we could all get on board with and all align ourselves with, and keeping in touch with those values and different things. And so that committee, after meeting in several weeks, came to Core and Ms. Gonzalez and I, and we kind of were going to review and finalize those decisions and then present to student council for kind of final feedback.
So we took it to student council, and at student council, it was essentially the main agenda item of the meeting and an opportunity for the committee to present their recommendations and for student council to ask lots of questions and to also give input and feedback. We took all of that input and feedback from student council, and ASB Core, Ms. Phillips and myself again took a look at all of that to try to cull what some of the remaining concerns and issues were going to be with changing any of those activities. After we looked at that, I made a decision to go ahead and move forward with the recommendations that the committee had made and fully adopted those recommendations, but also considered some of the input that was given at student council to modify some of those recommendations. So what we'd like to do is share with the school as a whole what the final recommendations are that came out of those activities and just walk you through it.
So as we talked about, Macho Volleyball, as it was called last year, will be changed to SC Serves, as the purpose of the event is a charity fundraiser to build our community up, and that event will be open to any and all students who want to form teams and be a part of this activity. And it's meant to really just bring our school together, and our volleyball team will be serving as refs for the night, and so that will just help create fairness and overall encourage the spirit of the activity. So that's what Macho Volleyball will be changed to.
Awesome. Powder Puff is also going to be changed, and we actually made the changes already this year. We had some recommendations we could work with. Powder Puff is a little bit unique in that now it will be called, more accurately, Girls Football League. It will remain an activity that is for those that identify as female to participate, and it will be open to 9th through 12th grade students as opposed to just 11th and 12th. It will remain a fundraiser for the classes that participate. However, the changes that we made were really ones that we had to make to open it up And at the same time, it's an interesting one because we have to balance it with some concerns about liability, about insurance, about potential for injury, and we have to define a little bit more carefully who can participate, because we don't have paid coaches, we don't have trained coaches who help run that sport, and it is not an official sport. It's an activity, it's an event that takes place. So our rules that we have to work with are a little bit different. And for safety and for liability, we tried to keep the scope as true to the new name, Girls Football League, as possible. So that will continue to be an activity that we do here at Shorecrest and continue to be a fundraiser, but I hope we'll be a little bit more inclusive and include more students as well. So lastly, the event that's probably most on students' minds is Mr. Shorecrest and the changes we made to Mr. Shorecrest. The committee looked at Mr. Shorecrest really closely, knowing that there were lots of strong feelings out there among students. Mr. Shorecrest was one that was developed here at Shorecrest 10 years ago. It was a senior project, and it was developed as a senior class fundraiser, and it was intended to be a parody, intended to be fun and funny, and it did those things. It also had a tendency to be sexualized sometimes in terms of content, and it also had a tendency to really play with and exaggerate gender stereotypes, and in a way that really didn't make everyone feel included or welcome or valued. So the committee took a very good look at Mr. Shorecrest and looked at it through the lens of the race and equity policy that we have, along with all of these activities. And the recommendations that were brought forward were to try to take Mr. Shorecrest and keep the spirit of the fun, perhaps some of the spirit of the parody, but also be sure to limit the stereotyping, limit the sexualizing of the folks that are involved, and to open it up. Again, the goal with all of this is to be a bit more inclusive, not to lose the spirit of fun. So Mr. Shorecrest will have a new name. We don't know what it will be, but it'll be a name that at least sends the message that it's more inclusive. We will allow anyone of any gender identity participate in Mr. Shorecrest. We will find ways to keep that spirit of fun and talent and competition, and it will remain a senior class fundraiser. It will remain something that still highlights our seniors on stage. And I think we're gonna come to a place where it will be a bright, new, positive tradition for Shorecrest. And I think the changes that we'll see will be ones that just don't take away the heart and the purpose of the whole event.
So in closing, I want to just emphasize that we took, I think, strong consideration and slowed things down when there was so much voice and so much student concern over these things, and slowing things down to a point where we can evolve these activities to a point where we are in line with the race and equity policy, while not eliminating traditions and the fun and the essence of what it means to come here and what a cool school that we have. So with these changes, we really are trying to build an even stronger community, as it will include more people and emphasize the spirit of what it means to come here and hold true to some of those traditions. Thank you, and have a great day, Shorecrest.
Thank you very much, and keep the dialogue and let us know of other ideas or suggestions you have, and get involved in helping implement these changes next year.